Do this, and people will respect you immediately. Command respect, instant respect. In a world quick to judge and slow to understand, many of us unknowingly tie our worth to external validation. But true respect, real, enduring respect, does not come from applause, approval, or acceptance. It begins within. In this journey, we explore how to reclaim your self-worth when facing disrespect, to stand tall amid mockery, to heal unseen wounds, and to find meaning even when the world turns its back. Through moments of silence, resilience, and quiet awakening, you'll discover that the greatest power isn't in being recognized by others, but in recognizing yourself. Stay with us, and let's awaken a deeper part of you, a part that no criticism, no rejection, and no storm can ever shake. When you are publicly disrespected, how to preserve your self-worth. Have you ever found yourself humiliated, mocked, or belittled in front of others? Those moments, even if brief, can leave deep emotional wounds. The natural reaction is often anger, shame, or an impulse to immediately retaliate. Yet it is precisely in those vulnerable moments that your choice of response will determine your entire image and self-worth in the eyes of others. The truth is, people aren't always intentionally trying to hate you. Often, disrespect stems from selfish instinct, others trying to elevate themselves by putting you down. They use ridicule, cruel jokes, or thoughtless remarks as tools to boost their standing within a group. Understanding this nature is the first step to avoiding emotional traps and refusing to be dragged into meaningless power games. When you are publicly disrespected, the most important reaction is neither retaliation nor silent endurance. It's maintaining your inner strength. A truly valuable person doesn't need to shout for recognition. Your calmness, composure, and natural presence will be the strongest answer. The first thing you must do is resist reacting impulsively. Acting out of anger only makes you lose the upper hand. Take a brief pause to observe and understand the true nature of the situation. Who is actually weak here? You, the one being attacked, or the other person, the one who needs to resort to disrespect to feel elevated in front of the crowd? The answer becomes clear when you are still enough to see it. Next, let your body language speak for you. Hold your head high. Maintain calm yet firm eye contact. There's no need for a forced smile, nor should you display visible annoyance. A straightforward gaze, a slight nod, or even a poised silence will deliver a stronger message than any verbal defense. Most importantly, remind yourself, your worth does not reside in someone else's opinion. It lies in how you see yourself. A spiteful comment cannot diminish you unless you allow it. A tasteless joke cannot erase your dignity unless you consent to it. Sometimes, the wisest move is refusing to play by the provocateur's rules. You don't need to win a small argument only to lose the bigger battle of protecting your image and integrity. True victory is not about silencing the other. It's about keeping your soul untarnished by their pettiness. If you can stand firm in such moments, you not only protect your self-worth, but also quietly build an unshakable inner strength. Others may laugh at you in the moment, but they will remember the presence you left behind. Because true respect cannot be demanded, it can only be naturally granted to those who have the courage to remain themselves amidst the storm. Earning respect, not through force, but through inner strength in all social interactions, whether in work or personal life. Everyone craves respect. Yet there's an uncomfortable truth that few dare to confront. Respect cannot be forced, demanded through anger, or earned through outbursts. It only truly appears when you radiate an inner strength that naturally commands attention and acknowledgement. Earning respect doesn't mean threatening or intimidating others. It's about establishing firm internal boundaries others can sense even before you utter a word. In reality, disrespect often happens not because you're unworthy, but because you're unclear about your own worth. When you are vague about your own standing, you make it easier for others to cross your boundaries without even realizing it. And when disrespect happens, and you respond with silence or weakness, you unintentionally signal to them that such behavior is acceptable. So how do you truly earn respect? First, recognize that respect starts with how you treat yourself. A self-respecting individual won't stay in environments that degrade their dignity, nor will they tolerate jokes that wound their pride. You don't need to loudly declare this. Your attitude, your calmness, your gaze, all of these will naturally project a message. I know my worth, and I won't trade it just to please someone else. The next critical step is maintaining emotional stability. When challenged, disrespected, or provoked, most people react with immediate anger or hurt, but such emotional outbursts only hand power to the other party. They realize that a simple comment or small action can easily manipulate you, and from there, any respect they had for you crumbles. On the other hand, someone who controls their emotions turns calmness into invisible power. When you remain composed in the face of mockery, when you can smile lightly instead of raging, when you choose silent strength over noisy arguments, you force others to rethink how they treat you. Respect isn't born out of fear. It grows from a silent admiration for an inner strength that, though unspoken, is deeply felt. Sometimes, simply being willing to quietly walk away from places that no longer respect you calmly yet firmly is the most powerful lesson you can teach the world around you. In life, you cannot control how others perceive you, but you can absolutely control how you present yourself, how you protect your dignity, and how you respect yourself. And strangely enough, when you stop chasing external validation, that's when genuine respect starts gravitating toward you, not through force, not through loud words, but through the silent gravity of true inner strength. Making a strong impression, stand up and use eye contact to assert your presence. Some seemingly trivial moments can end up determining how others perceive you for a long time. One of the most critical moments is the very first encounter. Within the first few seconds of meeting someone, their subconscious has already positioned you within their value system, either as someone worthy of respect or as a forgettable shadow. A strong first impression doesn't come from hollow greetings or forced smiles. It stems from something deeper, your aura, conveyed through body language. When someone approaches to greet you, the worst thing you can do is stay seated and lazily raise your hand. That action, whether intentional or not, places you in a lower position from the very beginning. Subconsciously, they sense you as passive, weaker, or lacking the confidence to assert yourself. So what should you do? Stand up, lift your head. Approach them with a calm, steady demeanor. Don't rush, don't shrink. By standing up to greet someone, you're not just showing politeness. You're quietly sending the message. I am present. I am confident in my presence. When shaking hands, pay attention to eye contact. Many people, out of nervousness or insecurity, look at the other person's hand when reaching out. This is a major mistake. Looking at the hand causes your head to tilt downward, unconsciously projecting submission or meekness. Even if the other person isn't consciously aware of it, they register you as someone beneath them in the unspoken hierarchy. Instead, keep your gaze level, look directly into their eyes when shaking hands. A steady, calm, and assured gaze, not too intense, but firm, immediately signals that you possess inner strength. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to prove yourself. Through your eyes and posture alone, you imprint a lasting impression. There's no need to tense up or force yourself to appear strong. True charisma doesn't come from rigidity, or exaggerated gestures. It arises from naturalness, from the peaceful inner foundation you carry into every small action. Sometimes, simply standing up at the right moment and making eye contact the right way can completely change how others treat you. They'll be more cautious before mocking you. They'll think twice before trying to diminish you. Not because they fear you, but because they instinctively recognize you are not someone to be dismissed. The first impression, once formed, will unconsciously guide how others perceive you in every subsequent interaction. It lays the foundation for all relationships, and if that foundation is set with confidence and presence, even your silence will command respect. This world often reserves attention and respect for those who know how to assert their presence, not through noisy words, but through the silent strength radiating from every small gesture. And sometimes, simply standing up at the right moment and looking someone straight in the eye is the first step to conquering that respect. When you are interrupted, use a steady gaze to reclaim your voice. In conversations, especially in professional settings or public discussions, being interrupted is one of the most subtle ways you can lose personal power. It happens quickly, sometimes through offhand comments, jokes, or sudden topic shifts. If you don't handle it properly, you can gradually be pushed to the margins of the conversation, and the respect you command will fade with each passing moment. The natural reflex for many people when interrupted is to fall silent, chuckle awkwardly, or yield to avoid making a scene. However, this unintentionally sends a dangerous message that you can be easily cut off, and your voice can be disregarded at any time. Reclaiming your voice doesn't mean shouting, getting angry, or rushing into an argument. On the contrary, true wisdom lies in maintaining composure and using your gaze to reset the balance. When someone interrupts you, pause for a moment. Don't rush to continue or attempt to overpower them. Instead, calmly turn your gaze toward the interrupter, not with anger or blame, but with a direct, steady, and composed look. That gaze alone will convey an unspoken message. I am speaking, and I have the right to finish my point. Sometimes you don't need to say a word. A firm and well-timed gaze will make the other person aware of their rudeness. That silent strength creates a pause that forces others to retreat. If you need to speak, use short but clear phrases, such as, "May I finish my point? I haven't completed my thought yet." This approach avoids confrontation and tension but firmly asserts your right to be heard. Most importantly, do not let anger drive your actions. If you get angry, you lose the upper hand. If you argue hastily, you fall into a defensive position. But if you maintain a calm gaze and concise words, you not only reclaim your speaking rights but also build an image of strength and respect. In reality, people who frequently interrupt others are subconsciously testing the boundaries of those they interact with. When you allow them to interrupt once without addressing it, they will do it again and again, and their respect for you will diminish. However, when you set a clear boundary from the start, you teach others how to treat you. In moments of being interrupted, a steady gaze, strong inner composure, and calm reaction are your silent but most effective weapons to protect your personal value. You don't need to fight loudly to reclaim your voice. You simply need to stand firm on the foundation of self-respect. And when you do, your quiet yet firm presence will command the room's attention, because in this noisy world, it is inner calmness that earns true respect more than any loud rhetoric ever could. When you are made the butt of a joke, turn your discomfort into a weapon. Few things are more unpleasant than becoming the target of a cruel joke, especially in front of a crowd. A mocking comment, a ripple of laughter, and suddenly you become the centerpiece of an unwanted moment. That small humiliation, if not handled skillfully, can bury itself in your mind like a silent wound. The instinctive reaction for many when made fun of is to blush, retaliate, or get angry. Ironically, these reactions only empower the joker further. The more you show embarrassment, hurt, or anger, the more they succeed in stripping you of your composure and strength in the eyes of others. But there is a more refined, more effective strategy, a strategy of inner strength. Do not react immediately. When someone throws out a malicious joke, pretend you didn't hear it clearly. Don't change your facial expression. Don't rush to respond. Calmly lift your head, look directly at the person, and gently ask, "Sorry, Doc, could you repeat that? I didn't catch it." That seemingly small move immediately flips the situation. The person who made the joke now has to repeat their comment, this time under the scrutinizing eyes of everyone. The first time, their joke may have triggered laughter, but the second time, the atmosphere changes. They must restate their nasty remark without the benefit of surprise or group approval. More often than not, the joke will lose all its force. By forcing someone to repeat a cruel joke, you subtly expose their immaturity and tastelessness. They are now the ones put on the spot, while you stand firm, calm, steady, and fully in control. The key is to keep your emotions in check. Don't offer a forced smile. Don't display anger. Your cold, composed demeanor is the best shield, forcing others to reevaluate their behavior. In such moments, you not only protect your dignity, but project an aura that commands caution. People will think twice before targeting you for cheap laughs again. Because someone who can endure a joke without losing composure and even quietly make the joker uncomfortable is a person of undeniable inner strength. Sometimes, victory isn't about a sharp comeback or public revenge. True victory is making the one who mocked you feel ashamed, while you maintain your poise effortlessly. And in doing so, from one small joke, you silently affirm to everyone, your value is not something that can be easily made into a joke. Facing provocation, break their game with an unexpected question sometimes. Even when you remain composed, someone will deliberately try to corner you. They will provoke you with sly remarks, hidden jabs, or subtle challenges. Their goal is clear: to push you into losing control and thus tarnish your image in front of others. This is a common tactic in social dynamics, especially in highly competitive environments. The provocateur often won't attack directly, but will use covert baiting, making it difficult for you to respond cleanly. And once you fall into emotional reactivity, you've already lost. So, how can you break their game without playing along? One of the most effective psychological techniques is to throw an unexpected, completely unrelated question. When you sense someone is trying to provoke you, instead of reacting as they expect, disrupt the emotional momentum by casually asking something completely irrelevant. Like, "Do you know any good, quiet coffee shops nearby? I'm wondering if it might rain today, what do you think?" Such seemingly random questions immediately shatter the provocation's rhythm. Instead of continuing their attack, they are pulled into a new reality, a harmless, mundane topic with no room left for hostility. The power of this technique lies in the element of surprise. They are not prepared for such a response. They expect you to get angry, argue, or at least show discomfort. Instead, you deliver a calm, unrelated question, disorienting them and stripping them of their momentum. Moreover, by steering the conversation yourself, you show you are not trapped in their emotional bait. You're controlling the rhythm of the dialogue, forcing them to follow your lead. Of course, for this technique to be most effective, your voice and tone must be completely natural. Don't sound sarcastic or mocking that would give away your intent. Instead, genuinely immerse yourself in the question as if it's your sole concern at the moment. In the art of communication, the wisest are not those who counterattack most sharply, but those who deftly redirect the entire interaction, causing their opponents to disarm themselves. And in these moments, when you not only protect your inner peace, but quietly dismantle the opponent's momentum, you realize something powerful. Calmness is not just a shield, it is the sharpest counterattack. When facing provocation, don't choose to fight, choose to lead. Because in this noisy world, the true masters of the game are those who can make others follow their rhythm without ever issuing a command. True respect, knowing when it's time to walk away. There are conversations, relationships, and environments where, no matter how hard you try, respect will never materialize. You can be polite, composed, emotionally controlled, and use every skill you have to preserve your dignity. But if the other party is unwilling to recognize your value, all your efforts will feel like pouring water onto sand. In such moments, the wisest choice is not to keep trying to convince them, nor to attempt to change them. It's to know when to walk away. Many people fear leaving an environment, a group of friends, or a relationship because they are afraid of loss, judgment, or loneliness. But there is a far worse loss, losing your self-respect just to cling to something that is no longer worthy. True respect doesn't come from trying to please others or sacrificing yourself for acceptance. It can only exist when you place your self-worth above the temporary need to be liked or validated. When you clearly sense that you are not being valued, not just in words, but in attitude, actions, glances, and neglect, that's the moment to quietly walk away. Not because you are defeated, but because you are clear-headed enough to know your presence should never be something to be bartered. Walking away is not an act of anger or revenge. It's a silent declaration. I value myself more than seeking approval from those who cannot appreciate me. And, strangely, your absence will often speak louder than 1,000 arguments. People usually only recognize the value of something after it's gone. They only feel the loss when they no longer have the opportunity to trample on your worth without consequence. Walking away at the right moment is an art. It's not an escape. It's a conscious choice to protect the most sacred territory of human life, self-respect. Never fear temporary loneliness, because standing firm in your values brings a lighter, more peaceful solitude than staying in an environment lacking respect. And don't forget, when you dare to leave spaces that no longer deserve you, you open the door to new environments, places where you don't have to prove yourself, where respect flows naturally without struggle. Remember, in the journey of growth, some lessons can't be learned through attachment, but only through the courage to let go. True respect is not something you demand or beg for. It is a gift reserved for those who understand that sometimes the greatest value lies not in staying, but in walking away with pride. Deepening self-awareness, respect for yourself begins within. There's a truth few are willing to face. The more you crave respect from others, the more likely you are to be disrespected. This paradox stems from a very subtle mechanism in human psychology. A lack of self-respect silently leaks out, and the world mirrors that energy back to you. If you do not truly value yourself, you unconsciously emit signals of seeking validation and approval. Others, even if not consciously aware, can sense this need, and they will instinctively devalue you. Therefore, true respect doesn't start from the outside. It starts from a much quieter place, within yourself. Deep self-awareness isn't just knowing what you like or want. It's the journey of facing the most vulnerable parts of yourself, the fear of abandonment, rejection, or being belittled, and learning to stand firm without needing validation from the external world. Have you ever asked yourself, where does my true value come from? From colleagues' approval, from family nods, from a circle of friends? Or does your value exist, even if all those things were to disappear? When you are brave enough to ask this question, you are entering the first stage of deep self-awareness, Once you realize that your worth doesn't stem from compliments, admiration, or acceptance, you become immune to counterfeit respect. On the contrary, when you truly know who you are, you project a stable energy. You don't need to puff yourself up to prove anything. You don't need to shout for recognition. Your presence, your quiet confidence, naturally compels others to reconsider how they treat you. Self-awareness also sharpens your discernment, who genuinely respects you, and who is merely seeking advantage from your existence. When you respect yourself, you no longer tolerate degrading behaviors. You stop settling for half-hearted relationships. You begin setting healthy boundaries not by building cold walls, but by consciously choosing to open your heart only to those who are truly deserving. True respect cannot be begged for. It is the natural outcome of an inner core that has established its own value without needing a jury from the outside world to validate it. And the world, like a faithful mirror, will reflect back exactly what you have chosen to nurture inside. A silent, enduring respect, stronger than any spoken words. Starting today, if you long for others' respect, turn inward first. Ask yourself, have I truly lived as someone worthy of that respect? Because the world always hears clearly the whispers of your heart, even if you never say a word. Healing old wounds. Because self-respect is not just a shell. No one grows up without having been wounded by disrespect at some point. Maybe it was careless, teasing in childhood, dismissive glances from friends, or the invalidation of your worth by people you once trusted. These wounds, though often forgotten on the surface of memory, quietly imprint themselves deep within the soul. If left unhealed, they become the fragile armor we wear, a brittle sense of self-respect, a pride easily hurt, a mask of strength used to cover nameless insecurities. But true self-respect is not fragile armor. It is not something we build to convince the world we are fine. It is a silent, steady current flowing within a quiet but unwavering belief. No matter what others think, I know my worth. To reach that kind of self-respect, you cannot skip the most crucial step, healing old wounds. Healing does not mean forgetting. It doesn't require you to deny the pain or pretend it didn't hurt. On the contrary, it demands that you look directly at those wounds, acknowledge the hurt, acknowledge the pain, and yet refuse to let them define you. You are no longer the child mocked for being different. You are no longer the young adult struggling for acceptance. You are no longer someone who had to swallow tears just to belong to a cold crowd. You are shaped by lessons, scars, and experiences into someone deeper and stronger today. Healing demands that you learn to validate yourself, not waiting for others to do it, not seeking it in the applause of the crowd, but looking yourself in the mirror and saying, I am enough. Even if no one claps for me. You must also learn to let go of relationships that constantly make you doubt your worth. Not everyone deserves a place in your life, and that is not a failure. It is the highest act of self-love. Healing also means forgiveness, not to excuse those who hurt you, but to free yourself from the chains of the past. You deserve to walk through life with a heart free of bitterness, with a soul unfractured by careless words. True self-respect does not need to shout its existence. It doesn't need protective disguises. It simply is as natural as a heartbeat, as pure as the morning air. And when you heal, you not only reclaim your worth, you reclaim your freedom. Freedom from shallow judgments, freedom from critical eyes, freedom to live as someone who knows deeply that they are worthy. Understanding others to let go of resentment. Those who disrespect you are also fighting their own battles. When someone disrespects you, insults you, or tries to belittle you, the most natural reaction is anger. You may stay silent outwardly, but inside, a fire of resentment simmers. The more you try to suppress it, the more it quietly accumulates, becoming a burden you carry every day. But if you observe more deeply, you'll notice a different truth. Those who hurt others are often struggling with their own insecurities. No one needs to trample on others if they are truly confident in their own worth. No one needs to mock or belittle others unless there is a hidden sense of deficiency or fear within them. Disrespect, at its core, is a silent cry for help from an unfinished, struggling inner world. The person who criticizes you harshly is often projecting the parts of themselves they cannot face. The person who laughs at your failures may be desperately running from the fear of failure in their own life. When you begin to see disrespect this way, you no longer see yourself as a victim. You don't have to immediately forgive, nor excuse wrong behavior, but you will realize your anger is no longer necessary. You don't need to carry the heavy burden of resentment. You don't need to cling to bitter memories of those who once hurt you. You have the right to let go. You have the right to move on with a heart unburdened. Understanding others doesn't mean agreeing with their wrongdoing. It simply means seeing the deeper truth behind their actions, and from that understanding, reclaiming your own freedom. The cost of carrying resentment is always too high. It doesn't make those who hurt you pay a price. It only imprisons you within your own pain, prolonging a wound that could have long been healed. When you are mature enough to see others as people struggling with themselves, you begin to choose not to let their behavior define your emotions. You will understand their disrespect is not the truth about you. It's a reflection of their own cracks and insecurities. You will also understand forgiveness, in many cases, is not a gift for them. It's a gift for your own soul. It frees you from living forever in the shadow others have cast. And then you will realize, in this world, the truly strong are not those who are the best at retaliation, nor those who punish their offenders. The truly strong are those who can walk away peacefully, keeping their soul clear amid the dust of human existence, building unshakable inner strength. When calmness speaks louder than 1,000 words. In a world where noise is often mistaken for power, where the loudest voices seize the first attention, calmness is sometimes misunderstood as weakness. But the truth is the opposite. Calmness is the mark of the deepest inner strength, a quiet power, steady and persistent, more resonant than any slogan shouted aloud. There are people who, when they enter a room, need not say a word or show off, yet they naturally draw attention. They don't conquer through noise, but through the grounded stillness in their eyes, their breath, their posture, because their inner world is strong enough not to seek external validation. Building inner strength is not a matter of days or weeks. It's a long, silent journey. It's the process of learning not to react to every touch life gives you. You no longer erupt over careless words, rush to defend yourself when misunderstood, or falter when rejected. You learn to stand firm amid the storms of emotion without being swept away. Calmness is not indifference. It is the conscious choice not to hand the steering wheel of your emotions to others. When someone insults you, you have the power to choose not to react instinctively. When someone tries to belittle you, you have the power to choose not to let their words touch your core worth. And each time you make that choice, you are quietly building an inner fortress, solidifying it, little by little. Calmness also grants you an invisible but powerful weapon, the ability to master the atmosphere. In any argument, the person who maintains a steady voice, calm eyes, and an upright posture always holds the advantage, even if they say less. Because this noisy world, despite all its chatter, deeply craves something firm, something steady, something it can trust. And you, when you possess true inner strength, will become that anchor, not just for yourself, but for those around you. The remarkable thing is, those with true strength don't need to prove it. Their very presence speaks for itself. Thus, instead of racing to react the fastest, instead of trying to win every argument, focus on building that silent strength within you. Let your calmness resonate louder than 1,000 words. Let your serene gaze silence petty attacks. Let your quiet stillness stand as an unbreakable wall against every challenge. Because when you are truly strong from within, you won't need to shout, the world will naturally listen. Finding the meaning of life, knowing when to walk away, is a lesson in maturity. There will be moments in life when you stand at a quiet crossroads to stay in relationships, environments, or situations that no longer nourish your true worth, or to quietly walk away, to protect something even more precious, your self-respect and the meaning of your life. This world teaches us so much about how to fight, how to persevere, how to endure in order to survive. But it rarely teaches us a far more important lesson: when to let go in order to grow. Many people, out of fear of loss, trap themselves in toxic relationships. They stay where their dignity is eroded day by day, believing that perseverance is an absolute virtue. But perseverance is not always strength. Sometimes, persevering in the wrong place is simply a refusal to learn the necessary lesson, the lesson of letting go. Finding the meaning of life is not about discovering a smooth, rose-strewn path. It's about having the courage to recognize when a path no longer leads toward light, and having the strength to turn away, even if that means stepping into vast, uncharted emptiness. Knowing when to walk away is not an act of defeat. It is the mark of a soul that has grown up, because a mature soul understands the meaning of life is not in clinging to broken things, nor in endlessly trying to please those who will never see your worth. The meaning of life lies in loyalty to yourself, to the deepest values within you. When you walk away from places that no longer respect you, you are sending yourself an important message. I deserve a better life than this. You don't need to leave with noise or grand declarations. A quiet but firm step away is enough. Enough to affirm to the world and to yourself that you have moved beyond the phase of needing to prove anything to anyone. The journey toward finding meaning is not just a forward journey, it is also a journey of letting go of what once hurt you, letting go of the illusions of acceptance, letting go of the need for others to change in order to fit your expectations. When you dare to walk away, you are not merely leaving a physical space. You are leaving behind old limitations that once bound your soul. You are stepping closer to your true self, no masks. No need for permission to live as you truly are. And along that journey, every step, even if lonely, will be filled with meaning. Because it is no longer the step of someone running away, it is the step of someone who is truly growing up. Dispelling social misconceptions. Disrespect does not reflect your true worth. Society, with all its norms, expectations, and chaotic workings, often leads us to mistakenly believe that being respected means we are valuable, and being disrespected means we are inferior. This is one of the cruelest misunderstandings human beings unconsciously carry, and it's also one of the most dangerous traps that imprison our true value. The truth is, the way others treat you often says more about them than it does about you. There are people who, because of their own wounds, jealousy, or hidden fears, are incapable of treating you fairly, no matter how much you are worth. The disrespect they show you is not because you are undeserving, but because they are not mature enough to see your value. There are environments where qualities like kindness, sincerity, and intelligence are not properly appreciated. In such places, mediocrity, deceit, or even cruelty are celebrated. If you base your self-worth on how that society treats you, you will fall into a vicious cycle of self-doubt and self-deprecation. Your true value does not change simply because others fail to recognize it. Your true value does not depend on whether you are invited to a bustling table or on how many admiring glances surround you. Your true value exists even when you stand alone. It shines even when buried under layers of misunderstanding and rejection. When you truly understand this, you will no longer be so heartbroken by disrespect. You will see it as an inevitable part of the human experience, a world where everyone is battling their own pains, fears, and limitations. You will no longer seek your worth in fleeting applause or hollow praise. You will no longer allow others' glances or words to dictate whether you are deserving, because you will know true value needs no validation. It shines quietly in how you treat yourself, in the persistence with which you hold on to goodness, even when no one applauds. And when you reach that place, disrespect, though still existing in the world, will no longer touch your heart. You will walk steadily through cold glances, through criticism, through rudeness with a serene smile inside, not because you don't feel the sting of pain, but because you know that pain is not strong enough to change the eternal truth within you. Once your true value is acknowledged from within, it can never be denied, no matter how many times the world turns its back. Awakening the inner self, respecting yourself to awaken your soul. There are moments in life, though fleeting, that are enough to reveal a profound truth. The deepest respect does not come from the outside world, it comes from an inner decision, the decision to respect yourself. When you choose to honor yourself, you are doing more than protecting your personal value. You are awakening a part of your soul that had long slumbered beneath layers of expectation, fear, and imposed standards. Self-respect isn't just about refusing to let others mistreat you. It's about refusing half-hearted relationships, meaningless conversations, and the forced roles society tries to impose on you. It's about daring to live authentically, even if the price is temporary loneliness. It's about choosing the quiet of conscience over the noise of approval. It's about knowing that your value does not fluctuate based on others' applause or criticism. The awakening of the inner self always begins with something very simple. The moment you stop seeking external validation and turn back to face yourself. You look at your scars without shame. You touch your old wounds without avoidance. You see the shadows within yourself, and instead of hatred, you learn to embrace them with compassion. This awakening does not happen with grand declarations. It unfolds quietly in small daily choices, choosing silence over meaningless arguments, choosing to let go instead of clinging stubbornly, choosing to walk away when you realize where you are no longer nourishes your soul. And gradually, a new strength rises within you. Not the strength that seeks to conquer others, but the strength of someone who has conquered themselves. Someone who no longer depends on the world's respect because they have found the deepest respect within their own heart. You will realize you don't need to be perfect to deserve love. You don't need to be different to deserve to be heard. You only need to be yourself, whole, complete, and unapologetic. Awakening the inner self is also the bravest act, because from that moment on, you can no longer live in pretense. You can no longer return to being a palatable version of yourself just to please others. You begin to live authentically, with all your vulnerability and strength intertwined. And then, strangely, the world will also change its response to you. Those who no longer resonate will quietly fade away. Those who truly see your value will step closer. But no matter how the world changes, the most important thing remains unchanged. You have become someone who truly loves and respects yourself. And that, above all else, is the greatest victory in life. Throughout each part, through moments of being disrespected, interrupted, mocked, through the journey of building inner strength, healing old wounds, rediscovering life's meaning, and awakening your inner self, you have likely come to feel a profound truth. The respect you crave from the outside world has always begun within you. The world will continue to test you. There will still be hurtful words, dismissive glances, and acts of denial. But once you have built a firm foundation within yourself, a foundation of self-respect, self-awareness, and self-love, no person, no circumstance can ever break you. You will walk through life no longer seeking validation, but living fully in alignment with the deepest values within you. You will know how to walk away silently when needed, how to maintain your peace when challenged, and how to use your calmness as a shield against meaningless noise. Respect, then, will no longer be something you must demand. It will come to you naturally, an inevitable result of having learned to respect yourself. And deeper still, you will awaken an even greater power, the power of a free soul, free from the judgments of others, free from suffocating expectations, free from the fear of not being accepted. This path is not easy, but every step you take on this journey is meaningful, because this is not just the journey to be respected, it is the journey to becoming your truest, most whole self, quietly and completely. And by then, you will no longer need the world to recognize you. You will have already become a world unto yourself.